10 p.m. to see if you can make it. But you're out and trying to party.
Welcome, and to welcome you to yet another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. It's your boy Jalen, and for anyone that tells you money is not important, they're lying. If anybody that tells you that money isn't the driving route for a lot of things, I'm not saying all things, but for a lot of things is lying. For people that say money isn't important, they're lying. For people that say they don't care about money, more than likely they're lying. You know what? Let me say this. They might not care about money. They might not. Money might not be important to them. However, that is not the case for the NCAA. That is not the case for the MLB. That's not the case for sports in general. So last week, college football, a lot of conferences are canceling the season. You know, the Ivy League canceled their season. Other leagues and other teams have canceled their season due to the fact of we don't have coronavirus. We don't have this coronavirus under control. That's just that's just a fact. We do not have coronavirus under control. So because of that, a lot of these leagues and a lot of these teams, a lot of these schools do not want to put their players in harm's way. And I commend that. I was a little skeptical of the NBA bubble, NBA and WNBA bubble before, because I didn't know how it would look. I didn't know if they were really able to keep the players safe. I didn't know. Like I didn't know. But hold on. I didn't know. And I've been surprised. I've been pleasantly surprised by how the NBA and WNBA have gone about this bubble. I really have. They've done a really good job. You know, there's no positive tests, and it's been well. But the reason why, and I told this last episode, the reason why they're able to do this is because of how small and intricate the actual league is. So going back to college football, you know, a couple leagues, a couple teams, a couple conferences have said, yo, we're not playing this year. Okay, great. The Patriot League, I think, is one of them that said they're not playing. The Ivy League, I think the MEAC, maybe, I'm not sure. But the big leagues, the big conferences, you know, SEC, ACC, Pac-12, they're playing. They're keeping it moving. And the Pac-12, some of the players have got together and said, yo, we're not playing due to the fact that you guys don't have a handle on what's going on. And it's obvious that you guys care more about the money and the product, except for the outside of the, you know, you guys care more about the product and the money more than you do the players and more than you do us. We are just, you know, you guys care more about the money that you would be losing if we don't play instead of us actually playing. And I completely agree. You see, the reason why you have players coming out is because they don't feel that their organization cares about their best interest. If I played for the Washington football team and I felt that they cared enough about me, I wouldn't have to come out and say, yo, I don't feel safe about what's happening. I don't feel safe about what's going on. I don't feel that you guys care about my well-being. This is college. And the thing, I understand that, you know, you want exposure to try to get to the NFL. I get that. But like I said with college basketball and the NCAA, social media is so big and so present, you really don't need to play anymore. Now, I don't really feel that way with college football, but I do feel that look, man, this is a wash year. This is a year that the world is. We haven't experienced anything like this before. So because of that, we have to adapt. We have to adjust. We have to understand that we've never seen anything like this. So we have to move accordingly. And if that means canceling a season, and it's not, if that means canceling a season for 1 year until we get together, then that's what we have to do. I mean, we all have to work together in controlling this virus. And when you see college football go, okay, the SEC is going to play, the ACC is going to play, the Pac-12 is going to play. We're only going to have in-game conferences. Or in-conference games. We're only going to, they're going to minimize travel. I look at that and say, okay, so if you're going to minimize travel, how are you going to restructure the season? And outside of minimized travel, how are you going to ensure that these players who have to come in direct contact with people, and you still have to travel, I mean, I know it's less travel, but you still have to travel, how are you going to ensure their safety? That is what I want to know. How are you going to ensure that they are protected? And again, let's not forget the fact that they are not getting paid. It'd be different if they were like in the league and they're getting paid for their services. They're not getting paid. Their payment is trying to win a championship or trying to make it to the league. Like, it's, this just shows this. I mean, this is just a continuation of the league, and it's not just the NCAA this time. This is the NCAA. This is the NFL. This is the MLB. The bottom line is money. It's not players. Because if it was players, you would have been like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't because we don't have everything under control. It's not money. I mean, it's not players. It's money. Do you know how much money? In fact, I saw a stat that I think the owner of the Miami Heat, and they're playing in the bubble. The owner of Miami Heat lost like $5 billion due to the coronavirus. Like, and they're playing. So it's once you when the bottom line is pure and right, you get things right more times than not. Like, you ever wonder why the league, the NFL and the NBA, and the NCAA and MLB get things wrong time and time again? Because the bottom line, because the foundation is not right. When your foundation is built on nothing but money and advancing yourself, then you're going to hit roadblocks time and time again. But when your bottom line is about the players and about player safety and about the advancement of players, then you'll start to realize that, things are looking up. Like, think about it. Look at the NBA. And I know I'm a big basketball fan. We all know this. But the one thing that I can say about the NBA and Adam Silver in particular is they get it right a lot of times. The NBA really is, outside of the UFC, is the only league that NBA and WNBA, let me not get that confused, or let me not forget the WNBA. Those are the only leagues that really promote the players outside of the teams. College football, I only can think of maybe 2 college football players, and that's because they were so good last year, and that's Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. Like, the NBA the NBA, WNBA, and a little bit of the UFC are the only organizations that promote the players more than the teams. The WNBA and Adam Silver gets it right so many times with social issues, with player advancement, with player safety, with technological advances. They get it right because they care about the players more than they care about the bottom line. Don't get me wrong. They care about money. The NBA cares about money. We know this. It's an organization. You care about money. But the NBA also knows that the way to make more money and the way to advance your product is to care about the people producing said product. Outside of the mandated shutdown, the NBA shut down before the mandated shutdown, if you don't remember. I think it shut down maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the mandated shutdown. The NBA could have started before July 30th. But Adam Silver was like, no, let's get all this together. Let's focus on what we need to focus on. Let's see how we're going to do this. And it worked. And it's working. They're putting a great product on display. It's working. Then you look at let's look at MLB. Since we'll morph these two topics together. Let's look at MLB. MLB, who constantly has player versus owner disputes. Constantly has money disputes, even though that's one league that does not have a salary cap. The same league that is rigid and doesn't like change, doesn't like what they're normally used to. That they don't like that to change too much. The same league that doesn't offer, or you can't even if you can't spot theirs unless you're an avid, baseball fan, you can't spot their superstars. Like if Mike Trout was walking down the street, you couldn't spot him. If Mookie Betts was walking down the street, you wouldn't spot him. If Bryce Harper was walking down the street, outside of his hair, you probably wouldn't spot him. You probably would spot Aaron Judge because he's huge. And Carlos Stanton because he's huge. But you couldn't spot their stars because they don't promote their stars. And look at what's going on now with the MLB. The MLB can't do a bubble because they have too many players. Or too many players, too many coaches, too many moving parts. And now, and players have expressed the fact that either they don't feel safe with what's going on in the world, and they don't feel like the MLB has their best interest at heart. But reluctantly, the MLB kept saying, no, we want to do this. The players want to play, but they want to feel safe. We're going to say, no, we're going to do this. No, and the players and owners kept going back and forth until I guess that they figured out, all right, we're going to do 60 games. Let's get it. Boom. But look at the MLB. The Cardinals team, half the Cardinals team went to the casino, and now they got, 13 or 14 players have the virus, and it had to shut down their games. The Mets, they had to shut down their games. Players across the league are catching coronavirus, having to shut down games for now. So now the owner's like, yo, if y'all don't get it together, we're going to shut it down. This is what they were talking about in the beginning. You don't have a handle on this thing. But you care more about money, you care more about the bottom line than the players. And it goes back to college football. College football, why do you think that it was just right now? It's not now. These aren't the only 3 conferences that are playing. Don't get me wrong. But why do you think that the SEC, the ACC, and the Pac-12 are adamant about playing? And why do you think that the Big 10, the Big 12, they're coming next? Those are the leagues that generate the most money. You think that they can have a college football season without Alabama, without Clemson, without Oregon, without UCLA, without Stanford, without Auburn, without Tennessee, without Florida State, without Ohio State, without Michigan? No, they can't. And they know that, which is why they're going to throw caution to the wind and say, to hell with it, we're going to play. Yeah, we're going to, only play conference play. And then once that happens, we'll decide moving forward. But, that just shows. Again, I want to see college football. I want to see sports. But I also want players to be safe. And I understand that right now you're running a risk more than the risk is heavier than the reward. Let's say that. The risk is heavier than the reward. Because think about this. And I don't wish this upon anybody, of course. I don't wish this upon anybody. I do not wish this upon anyone. But say you're a big college team. I'm not gonna put a school out there because I don't want to wish this on anybody. But say that you're a big college team, and one of your players contracts the virus and ends up dying. Which again, I don't wish upon anybody. But what if that happens? MLB, what if one of your players contracts the virus and dies? NFL, what if one of your players contracts, and we'll talk about the NFL in a second, but what if one of your players contracts the virus and dies? Then what happens? Then do you say, you know what, maybe we should have chilled out? Like, listen to the players, man. I don't think I've ever, in all my years of living, all my years of covering sports, I don't think I've ever heard of a players coalition threatening to opt out in college football. And that's what happened in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 says, no, we're playing. Shortly after a group of players came and had a list of demands, I think they put it on the Players Tribune saying, yo, if you don't do this, we're not playing. And some of those players were very important players. You had players from Oregon, players from Stanford, players from UCLA, players from USC. Like, you had multiple players. So, all I'm saying is this. I think it's time for college football to care more about their players than they do the money. Because I think once you start caring about the players more, the money will come a lot more. Once you start caring about the safety and the well-being of your players, the money will come. Plain and simple. So, and I said we'll move on to NFL. The NFL is saying that they're pretty much going as planned. Regular. We have training camps. We have this, that, and the third. Players are reporting. Players are supposed to report on time, and they're trying to have a season like ain't nothing going on. And you see a lot of players from the Patriots, a lot of players in general are opting out. And because of that, they pushed up the opt-out date to, I think, this Thursday. Because they understand like you're pretty much forcing the player's hand. What you're doing is you're not giving them ample time to see what you have going on. Like, to see, all right, you're not giving that you're pushing it up because you know that you don't have any procedures or anything planned or instilled for this virus. So what you're doing is, instead of having the original opt-out date and giving players time to see what strategies you're putting in place, you're moving it up because you know that more players will opt out, seeing as though you don't have any strategy. Except maybe no fans. Odell Beckham came out, I think, a couple days ago, saying the NFL should cancel the season. multiple players have opted out. Multiple players have said they want to play, but they don't feel safe. Multiple big name players are saying if they don't have my best interest at heart, or if they don't have my safety at heart, which the NFL has never really had the safety at heart, except for, I mean, you can look year after year when they say, hey, we're changing we're updating the concussion protocol, we are giving new equipment, we're changing the way that we hit. That can, that's a good cover. When you're cold and you put covers on, that's a good cover. Okay, yeah, like they really care about us because they're changing the way that you can hit, or they're changing the concussion protocol, they're getting new stuff. But if they really cared about the players, right, why is it that they don't have fully guaranteed contracts? If they really cared about the players, why is it that I think after like maybe 5 years from retiring, you get all, now 5 years after retiring, and you can still have lingering injuries or lingering situations that happen due to the NFL, you get taken off of their insurance. If they cared so much about the players, why is there a franchise tag? Yes, I understand that, you get more money in the immediate season of the franchise tag, but it gives you absolutely no security. If you care so much about the players, why is it that you push up the opt-out date so less players can opt out? You see, you know what a storefront is? A storefront is something that, okay, so a storefront is like a store, but the front of the store is not what's happening behind the scenes. So you can have like a laundromat, but in the back of the laundromat, they're selling drugs. That's called a storefront. Well, that's called a front. I don't know if it's called a storefront, but that's called a front. Like the store can sell suits. Like, when I used to live in Waldorf, right, for a minute, and there's just one, for people that know, they know. There's this one suit shop, right? Like going towards Best Buy, going towards PetSmart, going towards those places where they used to have a Circuit City. There is a suit shop on the corner at this light. And I lived in Waldorf for what? I say 10, 15 years. I've never seen a person. I've never seen one person, whether you work there, whether you're shopping there, I've never seen one person walk into that suit shop. Not one. Yet that suit shop has been open I think it's still open today. I don't know if it's a storefront, but I'm almost sure that they're doing something behind the backs or behind in the back. That's a storefront. That's what the NFL is fronting. They're fronting for us. They front like they care about their players. They front like they care about the well-being and the safety of their players. No, at the end of the day, and it goes back to the first topic, they care about the product. They care about the money. And the thing that I realized, right, is the reason why I've never seen a players coalition in college football. The reason why I've never seen a legit holdout as far as like an entire league, like I've never seen players hold out for the greater good. As far as I've never seen, I've seen some players hold out for Colin Kaepernick. I've seen some like Eric Reed, Kenny Stills was pretty vocal about it. I've seen players voice their opinions on things, but the reason why I think that no action really is made because NFL, one is because of non-guaranteed contracts. It'd be different if it was like guaranteed, like the contract that Kirk Cousins have. If everyone gets fully guaranteed contracts, I'm almost sure that you'll see a lot more social change or a lot more change in the NFL. If players started getting paid in the NCAA, you'd see more players and more player coalitions like, yo, this isn't right. This is not what we're doing. So I think players, and Shannon Sharp alluded to this one time, I think players are so scared of losing that money. Because one, you're one injury away from losing it all. And players know that once they get on the field, but you're one injury away from losing it all. So I think that once players understand that you have the power. Now, I know the NFL is all about the shield and about the owners, but think about it. How much change, and I'm not putting this on him, I'm not putting this on any of these people, but how much change do you think could happen if, like, a Patrick Mahomes said, you know what, I'm not playing this season because you guys don't have your stuff together when it comes to this virus? What do you think would happen if Aaron Rodgers said that, or Christian McCaffrey said that, or Tom Brady said that, or Russell Wilson, who has been very vocal about everything that's going on? What if he said that? What if J.J. Watt said that? Hell, Odell Beckham said that, but he's just one person, and he's a wide receiver. What I'm saying is, if players start to understand, I think the players know that they have the power, but I think that they're so afraid, and I'm not. This is not just my words. Shannon Sharp has said this too. This is not. I think they're so afraid of losing that money that they're not going to vocally speak up like they should. Again, this whole topic is NFL players are opting out. The NFL moved up the opt-out date to, I think, Thursday. So in 2 days, because they don't know, or they don't, and all this is because they don't have or we don't know what their procedures are to handle of this virus. I haven't heard anything yet. So, just, it's, it just, time after time, these leagues and these organizations show what they really care about. You can pump all these commercials out, pump all these statements out about we care about the players, we care about the safety, we care about this, that, and the third. But when it's time to show what you really care about, we get situations like this. We get situations where most of the players are saying, yo, what are the procedures in place with this virus? And the NFL has no answers. When everybody in fact, I think 2 days ago, right? I think a day or two ago, there was a camp in Georgia. I think a camp in Georgia, like a summer camp or something, where I think 250 kids contracted the virus. 250 kids at one time. I think they're saying they were ranging from like age 6 to age 19, caught the virus because they were close together and they didn't really. I mean, it's kind of hard in a summer camp adhering to social distancing. How are you going to do that in the NFL? How are you going to do that? You can sort of do that in the MLB, but there's so much travel that it's hard to do that. How are you going to do that in the NFL? How are you going to do that in college football? And these players don't get paid. That's the thing. Like, these players aren't in college football, that is. These players are not getting paid. So what happens if a player contracts the virus and has to leave the team? You don't get paid for this. You don't get paid to ensure that. And I'm not saying payment is everything, but payment will help with medical bills. Payment will help with treatment and medicine. So, I could say, get it together, NFL, get it together, MLB, get it together, college football, but this is going to continue to happen time and time and time and time again. Which is why I commend the WNBA, which is why I commend the NBA, which is why I commend the NHL, which is why I commend UFC. Now, again, I know people are going to say, well, those are smaller leagues than the NFL. Those are smaller leagues than the MLB. Those are smaller leagues than college football. I understand that. But I also understand, or at least I can see that those leagues are their plan. They are pushing hard when it comes to understanding this virus. And well, I'm not gonna say understanding, but they have the necessary procedures in place, even if those procedures are uncomfortable a lot of times. Like, if I was an NBA player, I wouldn't want to get tested damn near every day or every other day. If I was covering the NBA, like if I was Taylor Rook or if I was Doris Burke or something that's in the bubble covering the NBA, I wouldn't want to get tested every day. I wouldn't want to have to be quarantined. If I was Lou Will and I went for a funeral and then went to Magic City to get some wings and came back, I wouldn't want to get quarantined 10 days, having to miss 2 games with my team. I wouldn't want to do that. However, I would do that because I know that even though it's uncomfortable, it ensures the safety of not just me, but everyone else around me, everyone else in the bubble. What I'm saying, and what I'm saying is, the NBA, WNBA, UFC, all these NHL, they are even though it's uncomfortable at times, they're putting their players' safety first. Look at the NFL, they're not. And you have good players too. Good players. Dante Hightower opts out. That's such a big blow for the Patriots. The guard from the 49ers, that's huge. You see multiple players opt out, and then you still don't. You hear them releasing statements about players opting out, but you don't hear statements about what they're going to do to ensure the safety of the players. I have yet to hear that. So all I'm saying is, when you have the MLB and teams and series and leagues having to be postponed because of the virus, when you have NFL players going against the NFL in general because they don't have what's going on, when you have college players in the Pac-12 and other leagues or other conferences saying, "Yo, we don't feel safe," that you should listen. You should listen. So, before we get off of, let's move on. So the NBA bubble, right? It's I've been pleasantly surprised about what's going on with the bubble. I've been pleasantly surprised. I like how no players, nobody in the bubble has tested positive for corona. I like how it looks. It's still a little jarring not having fans, but I do like the virtual fans thing, even though I wouldn't pay $40 to just see my face on the side. But I do like that they're doing that. I like how other players are able to come to the games. I like the look of the arena. I like the look of the court. I just like it. I missed live sports, and I like the fact that they're back. I love it. And with the bubble, at least the NBA bubble, you're starting to see teams that there are teams that are there, like the Wizards. I'm a Wizards fan, but the Wizards have absolutely no reason to be in that bubble because they have absolutely no chance of winning a championship. They have absolutely no chance of even making it to the playoffs. When you look at teams like Brooklyn has no chance because all their players have been, some opt out due to the virus. A lot of them are injured. There are teams Orlando has no shot, and shouts out to Jonathan Isaac. I hope that he has a speedy recovery. They're killing him for not standing for or not taking a knee, or not wearing like Black Lives Matter. But at the end of the day, you can do what you want. You have freedom of speech. So again, I don't wish injury, especially an ACL tear, and people that play basketball know ACL tears can like really derail somebody, especially somebody that is coming off of injury. So I hope, I hope for Jonathan Isaac's speedy recovery. But teams like the Magic, teams like, I don't know, Wizards, Magic, Brooklyn, they have no shot of winning the championship. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about a few teams, not all the teams, but a few teams that have a shot for winning the championship, and why they will win the championship and why they will not win the championship. Let's start with the 76ers. The 76ers is the most unique team, and I'm not saying unique in a good way. And I guess I'll start with why they won't win the championship. Because they are horrible. And I mean absolutely horrible. Outside of or away games. And this is pretty much an entire away game. Hell, they did just win 2 days ago, or yesterday. But you see, you have players fighting players. You have defensive lapses that shouldn't happen. Yeah, you just have so much going on with the 76ers. They're just not buttoned up. Let's say that. They're not going to win because they're not buttoned up. When you have a star like Joel Embiid, when you have a star like Ben Simmons, you're not buttoned up. You have Al Horford, you have pieces, they're not buttoned up. And you can tell they're not buttoned up because they have so many good pieces, yet they have a losing road record. And you see fighting in game. Now, you see that from a lot of people, yes. But you see a lot more things from the not buttoned up teams than you see from, like, I remember when the Miami Heat, right? The Miami Heat, I think it was Mario Chalmers and LeBron James got into a yelling match. Right after LeBron James was like, yo, I was wrong. This is how it is. Blah, blah, blah. We're done. Move forward. You didn't hear that at all from the 76ers. Hell, okay, so the 76ers are not going to win the championship because they're not buttoned up. They don't do what it takes to win or to be better on the road. I think that they miss a lot of important cues that they shouldn't be missing. And I think that their stars don't coincide together well, which is Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid do not they don't work together on the court to me. They take up the same amount of space, which it'd be different if Ben Simmons developed a 3-point shot, but he hasn't. So, but they will win the championship because of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and because that's a huge team. When you have a pretty much 6'9", well, when you have a Ben Simmons who can play anywhere from the 1 to the 3 or 1 to the 4, when you have Joel Embiid who's dropping 41 and 27, like, you have and then you have Al Horford who's a solid player. You have a chance to win, and they could win because of those two. Now, those two could also be the reason why they don't win, but they could be the reason why they do win. So the 76ers will not win because they're not buttoned up. They're terrible on the road, and I think Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid occupy the same amount of space, or the same space, not same amount, same space. They will win because you have Joel Embiid, you have Ben Simmons, and those are star players in the league. Let's look at Dallas. Dallas will not win because they are absolutely horrible in crunch time. I think that games within 5 points, they lose 2 out of 3 times. they're such a young team. They don't they don't know. I'm not gonna say they don't know what it takes to win, but they fumble the bag time and time again if it's a close game. Hell, look at the Rockets game. They were destroying the Rockets the entire game until the end, and the announcers kept saying, "Do not get it within 5 points within like 2 minutes left." And what happened? Within 2 minutes left, it was a 5-point game, and they ended up losing that game. Luka Doncic, how great that he is, makes poor decisions in the crunch. Porzingis makes bad decisions in crunch time. That's just how it is. It just takes a little more developing. But, you know, they're not going to win because they don't know how to finish games, or close games, let's say that. They will win, however, because they are a young, exciting team. And you have Luka Doncic, who is, for a lot of people, top 10 player in the league right now. When you have KCP, when you have a Seth Curry, when you have Rick Carlisle, you have a chance to win. And I think this year, they're ranked the number one offense in the league. So when you're ranked the number one offense, people are going to have to catch up to you, not the other way around. So they're going to win because they have the number one offense in the league, and you have Luka, you have young pieces that fit together. They fit. The difference between the 76ers and Dallas is I don't think those pieces really fit together for the 76ers. Dallas, their pieces fit really well together. But they're going to win because their pieces fit together. They're I think the number one offense, and they have Luka. They have Porzingis. They have Seth Curry. They have great pieces along with a really good coach. They're not going to win because they do not know how to finish close games. And how great Luka is, how great KCP is, they make poor decisions at the end of games, which cost them games. So that's Dallas. Let's go with Denver. I love Denver. Denver is exciting. And I'm going to start with why Denver won't win. Denver is very young. I think Denver has all the pieces that could win. I'm one of my predictions, which was a dark horse prediction, but Denver is going to upset either the Lakers or the Clippers in the playoffs. And I think that because they have one of the deepest teams when you can bring Michael Porter Jr. off the bench, when you can bring and Michael Porter Jr. dropped 37 the other night, which is his career high. But when you have Will Barton, and these players aren't even playing right now, as far as Will Barton, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, you have so many good players, and Bol has looked incredible. So Denver is, to me, one of the deepest teams in the league, or at least in the bubble. They might be the deepest team in the bubble. The problem is they're really young. You know, Michael Porter Jr. is, I think, 21 or 22. Jamal Murray's young. Gary Harris is young. I think the oldest person on the team is Paul Millsap, who is really good, but Paul Millsap's not. I mean, he's their vet, you know. So I think that they won't win because they're a little too young. I think they need a little bit more years to develop. However, I think they will win because they're the deepest team. And Jokic, to me, is the best center in the league. You have really good, solid pieces. And once, Will Barton comes back, once Jamal Murray comes back, once Gary Harris comes back, they'll be fully loaded. And I think it's important. I'm excited to see how they'll turn out. So, and not to mention, they're great offensively and they're really good. Now they're good defensively in parts and spurts, but they're not the greatest defensively. And I think you can chalk that up to being young and still learning the game. But they have the deepest team in the league. So that's Denver. That's I think they need a little bit more time to develop, which is why they won't win. But I think they will win because, They have the deepest team, and they have some exceptional pieces. Because Paul Millsap is really good. Jokic to me is the best center. When Jamal Murray comes back, he's a really good two. Gary Harris is great. Will Barton is like a J.R. Smith type player. You have a Bol who has been a pleasant surprise. When you have a Michael Porter Jr., who I thought going into the season he could be a dark horse for Rookie of the Year, but he dealt with more injuries and stuff. But yeah, that's Denver. So let's move over to Portland. Portland. The reason why they will win. Let's start with why they will win first. The reason why they will win is because they have Damian Lillard and they have C.J. McCollum and they have Carmelo Anthony and Nurkic. Those are the only reasons why they'll win. They have arguably the best point guard in the bubble right now. That's it. That's it. They have a lot of firepower in the offense. However, they won't win because they do not play a lick of defense. Not one person on that team plays a lick of defense. Not one. Not Dame, not CJ, not Melo, not Zach Collins, not Nurkic, not any of them. That is one of the worst defensive teams in the bubble. So that's pretty quick for Portland. You're going to win because you have Dame and you have a really good offense, but you're not going to lose. You're going to lose because you do not have a good defense at all. Not one person. So, yeah. And I thought Hassan Whiteside could be like a Rudy Gobert type, but he hasn't been a Rudy Gobert type since what? Since he got paid from Miami. So, there's that. Let's go. Since we just talked about Rudy Gobert, let's talk about Utah. They have no chance of winning. And I think their chances of winning went out the window with Bogdanovich because he was very, very important. Was it Bogdanovich? Yeah, he was very important. But I don't think they have a chance of winning, honestly. Yeah, you have Donovan Mitchell, you have Rudy Gobert, but I don't think they have enough firepower. Okay, if they do win, let's say this. If they do win, it's because they just stranglehold people on defense. They protect the rim incredibly well, and they just suffocate you on defense. Kind of like what old Memphis used to do, like the grindhouse, what that Memphis used to do. They won't win, but I don't think they'll win because they don't have enough firepower. When your number one scorers are Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles, and Joe Ingles can't really put the ball on the ground, so. I don't think that, just as young as Memphis is with Ja Morant and Triple J, I don't think they really have a shot because they're too young. Same as New Orleans. You have really great young pieces like Zion and Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, but I don't think that they have enough to win, seeing as though they're still young. And Zion, to me, as good as Zion looks, he's overweight. I don't know what happened to that picture that we saw during quarantine and during these games, but he's overweight. People are talking, and this was going to be a topic about the minutes restriction and why people are saying, he should be in a minutes restriction or he shouldn't be in a minutes restriction. But here's the thing: Zion Williamson looked horrible defensively that game when he played 15 minutes or something. He looked horrible. He looked so bad. People were going at him. He was the link when they were playing that game. And I don't know if it's fatigue. I don't know if it's just because he's overweight. I don't know if he's just missing assignments. He just looked bad. Now, he looked better in the game, yesterday, and they won that game, but he didn't look better defensively. He did look better offensively, but not defensively. So I don't think younger teams like that have a chance to win, honestly. but they're exciting. But let's move forward. Let's go with the Rockets. Now, you see, the Rockets, the reason why they won't win is because time and time again, every game they lose the rebound battle because they don't have a center. And when they lose the rebound battle, they lose the second chance battle. It starts to wear on you when PJ Tucker is your center and Robert Covington is your center. Those aren't centers. So I think that size, they don't have the size to withstand bigger teams that are also good offensively. Now, why they will win is because you have a James Harden, who is one of the most gifted offensive players we've ever seen. When you have Russell Westbrook, who's one of the most gifted players we've ever seen. When you have a team that relies so heavily and is really good at the three-point line, you have to catch up to them sometimes. It's like, yeah, you can beat them off, beat them trying to score. Beat them trying to beat them up and out-rebound them. But if they keep, like the other game, they were killing from three-point line. And if they're on, it's going to be hella tough to keep up with them. So I think offensively, and because they have a James Harden and a Russell Westbrook, and they're so good at the three-point line, that's the reason why they will win. But because they're not really good at all defensively, and they constantly lose the rebounding and second chance battle because they don't have a big. That's the reason why they won't win. Let's move on to Toronto. Toronto is a surprise team, in my opinion, of the year. I didn't expect Toronto to be this good. I didn't expect them to be good. When you lose Kawhi Leonard, when you lose Danny Green, I didn't think you were going to be good. But they have been a pleasant surprise. But the reason why they will not win is because offensively, they're not the best offensive team. Kyle Lowry can have spurts and have those games when he drops 30. Then he can have those games when he only drops 10. Pascal Siakam isn't an up-and-coming star, but he still has those games where, he struggles. They don't have enough pieces offensively to me to win. Yeah, you had Fred VanVleet, but there was a reason why Fred VanVleet was undrafted. Now, don't get me wrong. Fred VanVleet is a really good player now, but, his career, he had his career high the other night, which I think was like 35 or 36. But, there's a reason why he was undrafted. So I don't think that they have enough pieces offensively to win. To win. But if they do win, or they will win, because that is such a rugged team. They're such a good defensive team, and they're so well coached. I said, don't be okay. So beginning of the season, I didn't say this, but during the season and before the bubble started, I said, don't be surprised if Toronto makes some noise in the playoffs. Because Toronto, with Pascal, with Kyle Lowry, with Fred VanVleet, with a lot of the defensive pieces they had with OG, and coached by, I think, the coach of the year, Nick Nurse. They have shown time and time again that they are resilient, that they're great defensively, and that they're a really good team, like incredibly good. So that's why I think that they have a chance to win it. So they will win it because they're a great defensive team. They have really good pieces, and they're coached by, to me, the coach of the year in Nick Nurse. And they're just a rugged team. They won't win because I don't think they have enough offensive pieces. So let's move on to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks has Giannis. Giannis is top, at least right now, playing top 3 player, or maybe top 5. No, top 3 player in my opinion. He's an unstoppable force. The reason why they won't win is because of the pieces around Giannis. When you have to rely on the Lopez brothers, when you have to rely on the Eric Bledsoe, who hasn't played yet, when you have to rely on a Chris Middleton, who is a really good too, but I mean, I guess when you have to rely on like George Hill, like when you have to rely on people like players like that, and they've shown time and time again that they aren't the most reliable players in big situations, that gets a little sketchy. You know what I mean? It gets a little, you don't know. But and so I think the supporting cast and the fact, since I'm not just gonna resolve Giannis, Giannis still needs to develop a shot. Now, yeah, his shot is getting better. You know, he'll hit a couple walk-up threes. He'll hit a couple mid-range, but his jump shot is not reliable enough to put real fear in anybody. There's a reason why he has wide-open walk-up threes. There's a reason why you don't really play his mid-range shot like that, because he's not that good. So the reason why they won't win is because Giannis's jump shot needs to get better, and the pieces around him aren't play pieces that we've seen make big contributions in big games. Now, the reason why they will win is because they have Giannis. And not Dallas. Milwaukee has shown the greatest way of building around a player. When you have pieces around Giannis, and these pieces fit so well, whether it's Ilyasova, whether it's the Lopez brothers, whether it's Chris Middleton, whether it's Pat Connaughton, whether it's Eric Bledsoe, these players fit so perfectly with Giannis that when they're firing on cylinders, they're one of the best teams, hands down. Hell, a lot of people have them winning the championship because of the way the team is built. And having Mike Budenholzer as a coach is just icing on the cake. So they will win because they're built to last, and they're built really well. They're around Giannis. So that's why they will win. Let's go with the Clippers. The reason why they won't win is because they're sloppy a lot. They know how good they are. They know how many pieces. They know the pieces that they have. They know the endless amount of pieces that they have, but they're sloppy. There's the games that the most games that they lose, they have 15 or more turnovers. They have a lot. Hell, the game that they lost against the Lakers, they had 27 turnovers. They get sloppy a lot of times, and with them getting sloppy, I think that they allow teams to hang around, and it will come back and bite them. They could come back and bite them. So the reason why the Clippers will not win is because they're too sloppy. The reason why they will win is because while I say the Denver Nuggets are the deepest team, I think that the Clippers are the second deepest but have the better players. You know, when you have Kawhi Leonard, who a lot of people think is the best player in the league, a lot of people, when you have Paul George, when you have Lou Williams, when you have Montrezl Harrell, when you have Landry Shamet, when you have Zubac, when you have Patrick Beverly, that it is a deep team. And Joakim Noah coming off the bench, Reggie Jackson coming off the bench. They have so many good pieces that I think that they can just overwhelm teams. Like, they'll overwhelm you with their size. They'll overwhelm you with the amount of good players that you have to worry about. And you have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, who at first I was a little skeptical of how they would work together, but they've worked incredible together. So they'll win because of the sheer amount of talent that they have on their team. And the talent that they do, like the players that they do have, and they won't win because they get a little lazy and sloppy. And lastly, let's go with the Lakers. The Lakers have LeBron James, who is the best player in the league right now, and has been for years, 15 years to be exact. When you have Anthony Davis, it's Anthony Davis, the best big man in the league. When you have Danny Green, who has been known to hit big shots in big situations, they have Dwight Howard, they have JaVale McGee, they have J.R. Smith, they have Deion Waiters, they have Alex Caruso, they have Kyle Kuzma, they have good players, they have really good players. But the reason why they will not win is because those players are so dependent on LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Like, think about it. If LeBron James and Anthony Davis, in fact, we've seen it. When LeBron James and Anthony Davis are not on the floor, the Lakers look horrible. Horrible. Those, J.R. Smith, which he's just coming on the team, and Deion Waiters just coming on the team. But Kyle Kuzma doesn't look good when they're not on the floor. Like, the Lakers are terrible without LeBron James and Anthony Davis. LeBron James and Anthony Davis is the glue that holds everything together. Everything together. And if they're not on the floor, the team they play horribly. Like, it's stats. It's stats. So the reason why they will not win is because they're too dependent on LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and it's a huge drop off when they're off the floor. They will win, however, because you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and the Lakers is probably the biggest team in the bubble outside of maybe Philly. Like, the Lakers are huge. When you have a Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Kyle Kuzma, like, they are huge. And they can really suffocate and protect the rim really well when they're on defensively. So that's about it, man. Anything else before we go? Oh, I want to say shout out to The Rock and shout out to the investors for buying or purchasing the XFL for, I think, $15 million. The reason why I want to say that is because, one, you don't see a lot of you don't see a lot of league execs and league owners that are African American. And now that The Rock owns the XFL, a lot of people were saying, the XFL was, nobody wants to see spring football. But the XFL was doing very well before the pandemic hit. So I do like that the XFL will be back, and I do love the fact that The Rock, who is African American, is the owner. I'm just rooting for everyone black, and I'm rooting for black owners, and I love the fact that now the XFL, who, by the way, was putting on a really good product before the pandemic, is back. So shouts out to The Rock and shouts out to XFL. There you have it. I want to appreciate everyone that's been watching, appreciate everyone that's listening, appreciate everyone that's here, appreciate G-Curse for continuing to support me. I have my shirts, I got a lot of shirts, so if you want a shirt, DM me. I think they're probably like $10, $10 to $15. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and yeah, man, until next time, much love.
Like a religion to the streets. Ask about us. I was a boy in the hood before I ever knew Puffy. Bitch, I been a made man. There you motherfuckers to touch. I was a boy in the hood before I ever knew Puffy. Bitch, I been a made man. There you motherfuckers to touch. I was a boy in the hood before I ever knew Puffy. Bitch, I been a made man. There you motherfuckers to touch. Guess I'm too legit like Hammer. They couldn't touch me. Made a living off of it, Hammer. Guess I was lucky. Go. Y'all niggas don't really want it with Cool J. I guess it's me against the world. Goddamn, what can I say? You know me myself. I treat this shit like the league. I mean, you can win a ring every year, but new season, everybody start at game one. I promise when the Hall of Fame open up, we'll be defined as a dynasty. I was a boy in the hood before I ever knew Puffy. Bitch, I been a made man. There you motherfuckers to touch me. Guess I was too legit like Hammer. They couldn't touch me. Made a living off of it, Hammer. Guess I was lucky. Go. Y'all niggas don't really want it with Cool J. I guess it's me against the world. Goddamn, what can I say? I put them little boys on my lap. I birth niggas. How you think they got on the map? I earth niggas. Keep buying bullshit chains and pay some homage. Selling music from the side of the road. This shit's garbage. Looking young, he came right back, applying pressure. I'ma die by mine. Might need a stretcher, look at me, I'm back on my shit. Nothing can touch me, I can buy 116 bricks, move to Kentucky. Might buy a big house on the hill, might buy a farm. Bitch, I'm buying so many watches, might buy a home. Yeah, fresh as some white 87s, a living legend. Street Bible say when I die, I live in heaven. But just in case a nigga don't make it, see you in hell. The streets ain't fucking with snow, I can't tell. I remember shoveling so much snow, I couldn't smell. Well, you learn to do your thing with the snow, it wasn't yet. Graduated at the top of my class, no cap and gas. Caught that candy cane lamb on their ass, who's capping now? Man, these motherfuckers hating the hate, that's what I hate. And deep down, weighing they soul, they know I'm great. Motherfuckers acting like I ain't did it, like I ain't done it. The Michael Jackson up my lane, and bitch, I run it. I can see the finish line from here, I might sprint. Remember nothing inside my pocket but white lint. I charge you motherfuckers to roam just like Sprint. I'm used to busting licks all on my phone behind 10. I'm from where niggas pull them home invaders behind rent. From where them folks had them dogs in your cars behind tents. From when they best friends shoot up they friends behind cash. Best friends shoot up they bins behind ass. And I was the one keeping it real when they was faking. And I was the one to serve you a deal when they was baking. I can paint a picture using my words, look like they posing. You know my chains like to dance in the light, look like they voguing. Used to risk my life, that's every day, that trap life. Nigga, these motherfuckers mad cause I know what that trap life. Y'all got these motherfuckers thinking they street, they really sidewalk. Niggas don't say what they mean, they really side talk. Fresh out max, 100 miles and running. I do it for them niggas, 100 pounds and coming. And damn right, that boy ain't playing, he right back. Know how to say right shit on the right track. And everybody ordering beef, I had a steak. Serve me 2 to the head, my mama gon' cry late. Till my casket drop, I'm chasing this cash, what will it stop? Bet my bitch wet the bed, masturbate, listen to pop. They loved me when I was here, but where were they moaning? Sitting deep on the side of the road in that California. Damn right, CMZ, they owe me.